You refuse to change the baby's diaper? Your baby? Whose baby was this? Even if it's not yours, you can't just help out a mom in need. I feel like this actually might be split, and I need more context, for sure. Happy apple picking day! I got a little behind again, but now I think I'm back on track. I hope. It's fine, everything's fine. But if you're new here, welcome. A couple reminders for you. If you want a chance for your stories to be featured on Am I the Bad Apple, you can send them to my subreddit, r/AmITheBadApple. And as a general reminder, we all come from different branches of the apple tree. And what that means is we've all lived different lives and have different experiences. And those experiences are gonna shape how we internalize the stories, the first things that we think of, the details that are important to us, the boundaries that we have. So we just kind of keep that in mind while we're commenting down in the comments and talking about these scenarios. So without further ado, let's get started with this week's episode of Am I the Bad Apple? Let's go apple picking! Apple number 1. Am I the bad apple for snapping at a coworker at work? Today, my office building was throwing a little fiesta-themed event and they offered free lunch in the cafeteria. A bunch of us went down to grab food. While I was standing in line, I opened the Nest camera to check on something and saw a little bird that's been showing up outside my house every day. I laughed and casually said to no one in particular, "This little bird's been coming to visit me every day." Right after I said that, a coworker who has made pregnancy comments towards me before came up to me, rubbed my belly without asking, and said something along the lines of, "Maybe it's because you've got a little baby bird on the way." I felt this immediate wave of rage. Like, why are we still doing this in 2025? So I said, "Excuse me? Don't be wishing that kind of bad luck on me." Well, she looked super taken aback, and my boss, who I guess overheard, also looked at me like I just said something offensive. It felt like I was the crazy one for being upset. I didn't ask to be touched, and I'm not pregnant, and I really don't like people making those kinds of comments about my body. So now I'm wondering, am I the bad apple for reacting the way that I did? I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. In what world should you ever put your hands on like, I feel uncomfortable like accidentally grabbing someone's arm, because like I'm a touchy kind of person, and like sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, like I would never do that to a stranger, never. But sometimes after I've like even been friends with someone for a while and I like talk to them, I touch their arm and I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry, that was weird. Like, that's uncomfortable. I'm so sorry I did that. I did not mean to." I cannot imagine going for someone's belly. What? In what world, even if someone is pregnant, in what world does that give you the right to touch them? What? That's not your kid. I don't understand. It pisses me off that people think that that's acceptable. Much less, like, you're right, in 2025. Why are we making pregnancy comments towards women that have not announced that they're pregnant? Like, who was it? Was it Mariah Carey? Some celebrity? I don't remember. Someone that, like, Ellen DeGeneres, like, wanted so badly to know she was pregnant. Like, she wanted to be the one that it was announced, blah, 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 blah. And that celebrity, she wasn't ready to tell people. And Ellen got it out of her, and what, like, a few weeks later, the poor woman miscarried and had to publicly announce that because Ellen pulled it out of her. Like, if people have not said, "I am pregnant," why would you ever make comments like that? Why, if someone's not ready to tell you or you're not in the know, then you're not in the know. Why would you try to guess? Why would you try to pry like that? What is wrong with you? It's not your business. And then, like, you just want the satisfaction that you were right, and then if something happens, you make that person have to be, like, in the spotlight telling everybody? It's not your business. If it was, you would know, but it's not. Like, I feel like I'm not making sense right now. This kind of thing just makes me so angry that it just makes me ramble and go on a little tangent, and I feel like I'm not making sense. I need to reel myself back in. I would never, ever, ever shame someone for snapping for someone touching them that didn't want to be touched, of course. And I would never ever shame someone for snapping at someone who made a pregnancy comment, even if they were pregnant and they didn't want that to be known or out there or anything like that. Even if they were, I don't care. I don't care. It's not their business. It's not their place. Especially when they're not. That's just rude. Like, she's right. It's 2025. why are we still making comments about women's body appearances? Who cares? Who cares if you thought she was pregnant? Who cares? Is it your baby? No? Okay. Zip it. None of your business. Oh, but I wanted to celebrate with her. She didn't ask you to celebrate with her. If she did, if she wanted you to, she would have told you. But she didn't. Not that there's, even when there's nothing to tell. If you have not been given the green light, they don't really care if you celebrate with them or not. It's none of your business. Sorry if that hurts your feelings, but I'm not actually sorry about it. So like if we haven't caught on by now, I'm going good apple. Like for sure, for sure. Apple number 2. Am I the bad apple for ruining my boyfriend's family dinner? I, 28-year-old female, have been with my boyfriend for about a year. I have several food allergies, including gluten, dairy, and shellfish. My boyfriend's family invited me over for a big homemade dinner. I told his mom ahead of time that I have allergies, and they already know this, but we've had a couple incidents with them forgetting. And as always, his mom said, "Don't worry, honey, we'll have something for you." Well, when I got there, everything had at least one ingredient that I couldn't eat, whether it be cheese or a creamy milky sauce or some kind of shrimp protein in the pasta, whatever. I didn't want to make a fuss or go hungry, so I discreetly pulled out the Tupperware meal that I made at home and brought just in case and started eating it. My boyfriend's mom saw and she looked offended and said that I was being disrespectful and dramatic and that she couldn't believe I didn't trust her cooking. Later, my boyfriend told me that I embarrassed him and that I should have just eaten around the allergens to keep the peace. Now I'm worried because he's taking her side and I just need to know, was I really the bad apple? I try really hard to not be that person that tells someone, hey, give up on your relationship, run for the hills. But this is one of those times that I'm going to say it. And here's why. Allergies are no joke, okay? And I don't know the extent of this person's allergies, but I do know that they can get and be really severe. And I know that even if they're not originally super severe, they can become super severe, okay? So like, and when I say severe, I mean life-threatening. Right? Allergies are not something to joke around about. And like, I'm not just talking about lactose intolerance, like a shellfish allergy, that can be life-threatening. It's not funny. People can feel so sick when it comes to a gluten allergy, not an intolerance, but an allergy. They're very different things. And if this boyfriend, is not taking your health and your safety seriously, oh, we'll just eat around it. No. I mean, cross-contamination is a thing. There's a reason that people who are celiac have to go like they literally have kitchens where utensils are completely set. There can't even be cross-contamination. They can't even use a utensil that had touched a gluten product. These things are serious. It's nothing to joke around about. And if he's this nonchalant about your safety, well, because he just doesn't want to upset his mother, that's a problem. I would not invest, personally, I would not invest any more time in that person. I'm saying that as someone who, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. As someone who once thought, oh, over time they'll see how much this means to me. Over time they'll see how serious of an issue that is. No. If they do not care early on, they're not going to care later on. It is what it is. If he's not going to care now about an allergy, think about how he's going to take care of you in times where it really matters, right? That's kind of how I have been approaching life and relationships as I've been meandering through, dating life again. How they treat the little things now. I think about, what if they had this kind of attitude when I was home with the flu? What if they had this kind of attitude if I were to have kids one day, if I were to go into labor? Would they take care of me? Like, these are the kinds of things that, and I know there's gonna be some people in the comments that are like, oh my God, it's not that serious, it's early in a relationship. It does matter. It does matter. How people act, let me rephrase, because I know that some people are going to say, so many people stop caring after early on. If they don't care early on, they're not going to magically care 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 2 years from now. They're just not. Yes, there are people who care a lot in the beginning and then care less and less as they go. The caring doesn't increase, right? It just doesn't. If they don't care after a year, they're not gonna care after 5. That's just how they are. And that doesn't just go for men, that goes for women too. That goes for anybody. If they don't care about your allergies after a year, I say run. The fact that they're angry at you for being concerned about your allergies and bringing something for yourself just in case and saying that's disrespectful and embarrassing, that's a problem. There shouldn't be anything disrespectful or embarrassing about your safety and you keeping yourself alive and healthy. Like, no. Good apple. Apple number 3. Hi. Hi, my love. You know, everyone gets so worried when they don't see you for a while. They're like, oh my God, you still have the baby cat? I do have the baby cat. He's so upset because I've been doing like productive things around the house today and I haven't sat down to snuggle with him. So he's like, oh my God, Mom, you're finally sitting down. Hi. And where's Vixie? It is warm outside, so she is sunbathing on the screened-in porch. That is what's happening right now. She's too good for us, Milo. I know. Okay, back to the apple. Am I the bad apple for hurting my sister-in-law's feelings? I, 27 female, have a brother, 33 male, who's been dating his girlfriend Sarah for 2 years. My brother proposed to Sarah a couple of months ago, so Sarah's now gonna become my sister-in-law. Sarah has 2 kids from her previous relationship, 8 male and 6 female. I would say my parents and I aren't very close to Sarah and her kids, but we're cordial and we've never had any problems before. I, my partner, my brother, and Sarah attended the Easter dinner at my parents' house, and that's where all the drama happened. Sarah's kids were at their father's, so Sarah used the celebration to confront us about my brother requesting a prenup. Basically, my brother explained to her that he expects them to sign a prenup and that only his biological kids will have the right to inherit anything from our family assets. This is something that we as a family discussed before, and we all agree that only our children should receive assets or money from our inheritance. My brother's free to pay whatever he wants for his stepchildren out of his own money, but my children and his bio children will never have to share anything that our family has with them. Sarah claimed that we're being unfair and that we're treating her and her kids like strangers instead of embracing them like family. She said that the normal and decent thing to do was for us to see her kids like my brother's kids, who should have equal rights as would any children they may have together. I told her sure. After she gets married to my brother, she will become our in-law and her kids will be my brother's stepchildren. But that doesn't mean we have to share anything with them. I asked her, will my future kids receive anything from her parents or from their bio father's parents? She said no, obviously. So I asked her, then why would her kids be entitled to receive anything from my parents? She said because they'll be our family. So I told her, we have plenty of cousins that are also family, but I don't go around wishing to share my inheritance with them. There was a lot more back and forth between us, and Sarah was not letting this go. My brother asked her to stop because we were there to celebrate Easter, not to have this kind of conversation, but she just kept going on, saying that we needed to clarify it once and for all. I told her from where we stand, everything's clear, and that it's only her who has a problem. She said we were greedy and cruel to kids, and I just snapped. I told her to deal with it, that she's free to work her butt off and gather assets to leave her children, but we're never gonna divide anything outside of our family, and she shouldn't expect her children to be our problem or burden to finance. I honestly feel like she's very manipulative and is using my brother for what she and her kids can get from him, but that's my brother's problem to decide if that's the kind of partner he wants. I just want to know if I was too blunt in telling her the truth or not. Am I the bad apple? I have to admit I'm a little confused. I am not a lawyer. I don't understand what inheritance has to do with a prenup. Like when you get a prenup, it's basically saying, hey, if our marriage doesn't work out, if we get divorced, and I don't know if there's like a time limit. I know that I have some family that have prenups, and it's like, hey, if we stay married for 10 years, then this is dissolved. I don't know if that's the case with all of them or not. And I've thought about it because I've considered with the chaos that I've experienced, I've thought like, hey, whenever I get remarried, maybe I might do a prenup. But I don't know all the ins and outs of prenups and what goes into it. Basically, what I understand it to be is just an agreement that, hey, if our marriage doesn't work out, these assets that we had before we got married will remain ours and not splittable kind of thing, right? I'm pretty sure. And I'm not understanding what that has to do with inheritance. because your inheritance doesn't actually become a thing until your parents pass. It's not like assets that he has right now, right? They're at his parents' house. So this whole thing is a little strange to me. So what I'm gathering is that they're at Easter for a family dinner, and she's complaining that he wants a prenup, which I think is an odd thing to bring up at his family's house. And I'll get to that in a moment. I'm not understanding how it comes up that they're not a part of his parents' inheritance. Hi, Miss Vixie. Are you done sunbathing? I know, he is in my lap. You can come to your bed. Come to your bed. I need to read this again. I'm so confused. Okay, so he expects them to sign a prenup and that only his biological kids will have the right to inherit anything from family assets. So it sounds like two different issues. Okay, so I feel like these are two separate issues, and I feel like I'm getting really bad vibes that the one that she's harking on is this one. Part of me is like, oh, why would anyone ever be worried about signing a prenup? Because if you're going into it assuming that you're gonna be together forever, the prenup won't matter. But I also like understand why someone could feel a certain type of way about being told, hey, I need you to sign this prenup. Like, I get both sides of it, right? I do. I don't even know if y'all can see Vixie. Can you see her? I don't know if you can. But I think that's like a weird thing to bring up at his family's dinner. Oh my gosh, can you believe that he wants me to sign this contract to protect his assets in case we don't work out? Like, if someone is going to feel a certain type of way about being asked to sign a prenup, which I think is understandable, I just can't imagine thinking that his parents are gonna be the one that's on board with that. But like, when it comes to the inheritance, that's not his brother's, or that's not her brother, that's not her fiance's choice. Like, the inheritance is about what his parents want, right? It's their will. If they want their assets to go to their biological grandchildren, that's their choice. Like, who are you to decide they can't do that? Like, and again, I can see why someone coming into a family and being told, hey, your kids will never receive the same kind of stuff from their parents. I can see why it could rub someone the wrong way, but that's not your children's grandparents. They have grandparents. If their biological father is still in their life, they have two sets of grandparents, right? Logically, like, I can see an argument to where if in like 10 years they have a really close relationship and your kids see them as grandparents, yeah, I can see why you may make a little bit more of an argument. But when there's not really a relationship and they have their own sets of grandparents, like, it feels very weird. Like, you just got engaged. You're not even married yet. You've been dating for what, a couple years? A year, 2 years, I don't remember. And you're already like, well, why are my kids not getting inheritance? I would also be put off by that, like the sister. And I feel like, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of people in the comments who are like, well, it's the parents' money. Why is sister speaking? I can also see a world where, like, if I felt like my parents were being manipulated or gaslit or someone was like demanding their money, I can see a world where I would speak. For sure. Absolutely. Like, thinking, not my brother's current girlfriend, because I love that woman. That girl's already my sister. I love her. But like, some of the ones before her, I did speak. There were times where my parents felt called out and they didn't feel like they could say anything, or they didn't want my brother mad at them, and I was like, I'll be the villain, happily. So I'm struggling a little bit with this one. I'm definitely not going bad apple. Right? I'm teetering a little between crab and good, only because, like, here's the thing. I immediately, like, I'm thinking I'd go good apple all the way. And a lot of that has to do with me putting myself in her shoes, like, thinking back and projecting about, like, issues that I felt like I had to insert myself in to protect my parents, protect my brother at times where I felt like I needed to. But I definitely, the reason that I'm teetering is more of like a self-conscious self-awareness of like, were there ever times that I went too far? I don't know. I would say no looking back, because I'm happy with the outcome. I feel like I saved my brother from a lifelong of issues, and I'm happy with that outcome. He's so happy. He's doing great. He has a partner who he adores and who we adore. But I can see a world where not everyone would agree with that. So I'm gonna go good apple, but I'm not taking crab apple off the table, because I think that there are some parts of the story that I might have some blindness to, if that makes sense. Actually, you know what? I am gonna go crab apple because of what the specific words she used at the end. When she said, your kids are not gonna be our responsibility and our burden, I don't like that. That to me actually crossed a little bit of a line. So while I agree with the premise of what she was trying to do, to me, that part crossed a little bit of a line for me. Cause like, even though I feel like this girl, to me, I'm getting manipulative vibes. I'm getting bad vibes. Her kids have nothing to do with that, and I feel like in calling her kids like burdens, to me, the kids are not the villain. They're 6 and 8. Like, I get it, and I can see a world where I would lose my cool in that moment as well. That doesn't mean, even though I might also make a mistake and say something that I shouldn't have, because I can see my temper getting the best of me in this kind of situation where I feel like someone's trying to shake my parents down for their money. I can see myself losing my cool and possibly saying something that I shouldn't. That doesn't mean it's the right call, right? So I'm gonna go crab apple on that. I think that insulting the kids in that way was like a step too far for me personally. I can see a world where other people would be like, no, definitely crab apple. I can see a world where people would say I go good apple. I can see a world where people say bad apple. I think this is a story where people in general may have a lot of different opinions, but that is just mine, and that is where I'm leaning. Apple number 4. Am I the bad apple for refusing to change the baby's diaper? My wife and I have been married 10 plus years and have a few kids. My sister-in-law and her husband had a baby 2 years ago. No major complaints. They just tend to ask for people to do stuff that I think they should do themselves. For example, if they come over to our house and they live about an hour away, they'll ask ahead of time if we have their kids' favorite crackers on hand. I don't see why they don't just go buy their kids' favorite crackers and bring them over. They're well off, money is not an issue. I don't know, maybe I'm just being Probably a better example is that if one of them leaves the room, they'll ask one of us, my wife or my kids, to be in charge of the baby, which is fine except for the fact that the other parent is usually right there, just scrolling on their phone. Why can that parent not parent? Why do we have to be in charge of the baby when their parent is right there? Whatever. Whenever I say anything about it to my wife, she just says I'm being too much. Well, the other day, we were having dinner at my mother-in-law's house, and the baby got a poopy diaper. My sister-in-law looks at me and says in the sweetest voice, "Oh, Uncle OP, can you change the diaper?" She does this very frequently, but this was the first time I was asked. I tried to answer politely and I said, "No, I'm sorry. I don't do that." She gasped and said, "You don't do diapers?" I said, "No, I just don't do other people's kids' diapers if their parent is around. I mean, if I'm babysitting, sure, absolutely, but yeah, if the parent's around, I just feel like it's their job." My sister-in-law looked like she was about to start crying and said, "Well, now I feel selfish." I smiled and tried to set her at ease, said, "Not trying to make you feel any way, just telling you that's my boundary is all." The table got really awkward as she got up and did the diaper. Afterwards, my wife blamed me for making my sister-in-law feel bad and said that I should have just changed the diaper. I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad, but I've had 3 kids and I always took responsibility. I watched them, I packed for them, I changed them. I'm not looking to be a secondary parent for this kid. So, was I the bad apple? I feel like I need to explain something because I feel like I'm gonna say this and some people are immediately going to jump down my throat. So just hear me out and let me explain my thought process for this before you freak out at me, okay? I'm going to go crab apple, not because I disagree with the sentiment and his idea that he feels like sister-in-law just didn't want to change the diaper and he wanted to visit with family or eat or whatever it was that he was doing. I don't love the words that he used, and I feel like, you know, normally if I'm like, I didn't love this, but I'm still gonna go good apple, but I feel like the words that he used could have other consequences that he might not have meant to happen, and that's what I don't love. When he says the words, well, if their parents around, I feel like that's their job. The reason that I don't love those words is because like, I don't have kids. I have these nuggets, right? But I have a lot of friends who have kids, and sometimes I've seen some of my best friends who are amazing mothers, amazing parents, superhero moms, right? Sometimes they're so afraid to ask for help when they really need it, because they're just so worried about being a burden. And so I don't like the idea of telling a mother, well, if you're around, you can do it. It's your kid, it's your responsibility. Because even though in this instant, it seems like we don't actually know, but OP is playing it off as if like, oh, she's not stressing out right now, she's not overwhelmed, she's not crying because she's so stressed, like she just didn't want to do it. That's the picture that we're being painted, right? We don't actually know what's going on internally. Being a parent and being a mom is hard, right? And every parent's journey is very different. Some parents' journey might have been significantly easier than others, and some might be significantly harder than others, right? But I feel like making a parent, a mother, a parent, anyone, feel like when they're overwhelmed, they can't ask for help just because it's their kid. I don't like that. I don't like that slippery slope. I want my friends to be able to let me know I'm overwhelmed. I know that you're here, but I'm losing it. Can you change my kid's diaper? And I'd be like, oh my God, of course. Now, like, I totally see what this guy's saying is that there are some parents in the world who definitely take advantage and just want to pass responsibility to their kid on other people. Is that what this woman is doing? That's the picture we're being painted. Is that what's actually happening or not? I don't know. This guy might just be a little overly sensitive about, I don't know. I don't know. The picture that we're being painted is that she just doesn't want to do it. Regardless if that's true or not, I do not like ever sending the message to a parent, especially a newer parent, that if they need help, they shouldn't ask for it. I don't like that. I instead think that the words that should have been used was, right now I think I got the sense that they were like at the dinner table eating or something. Maybe they were visiting. I don't know. Right now I'm eating, and like my boundary is that like I'm starving. I need to eat first. If someone else is able, or if you're able, that would be, but like right now I'm eating. That's a boundary I'm setting for myself. Or right now, like I really need to sit down for a second, or like I'm like right now I'm not able to. If someone else is able, or if you're able to, I'm sorry, I just can't. I would love to love on the kid, but right now I'm just not able to. I'm visiting with my in-laws. I'm visiting with so-and-so. I'm doing this right now. I am not able to right now. That's a boundary I gotta set for myself. I don't like the whole, well, if their parents around, that's their job. I feel like that portrays a message of like, you can never ask for help, or I will never help out if you're here because that's your kid, not my responsibility. And that's the only thing that I don't like. Because whether right now she is or isn't overwhelmed, or like does or doesn't need help, if that time ever does come, she won't feel like she can ask. And that's, it takes a village, you know? So that's why I'm going crabapple, because even though, like, I agree, if he's in the middle of doing something or visiting or eating or whatever, yeah, he shouldn't have to go change this kid, for sure. I just don't like the words that he used for it, personally. So that's why I'm going crabapple. Okay, so we got 2 crab apples and 2 good apples. At least that's what I got. I would love to know if you got something similar or different. So definitely let me know down in the comments. And as always, if you want a chance for your stories to be featured on Am I the Bad Apple, you can send them to my subreddit, r/AmITheBadApple. And for your well wishes today, oh, I love this. It is National Teacher Appreciation Day, National Nurses Day, National Beverage Day, and National Foster Kid Day. So we got 3 really important groups of people that we're showing all of our appreciation to. If you've got a nurse that has changed your life, a teacher, if you were a foster kid, I would love to hear your stories down in the comments. And if you don't fit any of those bills, don't you worry. It's still National Beverage Day. Let me know your favorite beverage. Mine's chai. I'll be reminiscing about my days as a teacher over a nice chai today. I can't wait to hear your responses. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and hope to see you all next week. Bye, my lovelies. Mwah.